let's tackle the obvious, because it's not a tackle at all. There are literally just a scotch. I don't know if you even know this. There's a handful of Wade's new album down in the gift shop. There's a handful of Old Country Still Rocks shirts.
Yeah, just a couple.
If you want that, please go. There's not any more? They're gone?
They're gone.
Oh, yeah, that's good looking.
Yeah, I brought a bunch of them. I thought I brought enough, but I'm sorry, y'all.
Well,
yeah.
Yes. Wade Hayes Music?
WadeHayes.com.
WadeHayes.com.
Yeah.
So order it, and you can just have it when you get home.
Yes, please.
How long has it been since I've seen you? I don't know.
I would say at least 5 years.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Well, I want to kick off with the obvious, because you look amazing.
Well, shucks. Thank you. She's always been such a good liar, and I appreciate that.
Would I lie to you?
Yes, yes,
no,
you
I
would.
would not, Wade Hayes.
I'm kidding.
We've known each other a long time, and like my husband, thinks a lot of Wade, and they've worked together on some initiatives for colon cancer.
Yep.
But I just think you look amazing and I want to check in on you. How's life treating you? How's your health treating you? Because you've been down a journey that very few people can talk about.
I have, and there are more and more revelations as I go through this journey and to get on the other side of it, things I didn't even know as I was going through it. But life is really, really good. And I'm very, very thankful to be not only on this planet, but to be here with you guys on this trip. It's been a while. And rarely do you get in a situation like this where you feel so much appreciation and love from people as you guys show us. Yes, and it means the world to me. And I appreciate y'all so much, so thank you. It's true. It's true.
You know, when you've been through something, your lens changes a little bit. Your compassion lens changes. And, I don't know if you feel this way, Wade, but when I can spot other people that may be hurting or going through something. Yeah. And I bet, this is just me saying this, but sometimes making your message is a blessing to other people. And you've been so forthright and so open. How are you finding that people respond to you or come up to you? I mean, I'm sure they do.
They do, and that's a very interesting subject you've touched on, because there have been several people on this cruise that I've had in-depth conversations about their cancer journey that they're going through, because they know that I've been through it. And I will tell you the reason. I'm typically a very private person. Yeah. And it's tough for me to talk about stuff. It's tough for me to ask for help. It's tough for me to do any of that stuff that involves stepping out of my comfort zone. But there was a time in my journey when I was not expected to make it. And I was told I was not expected to make it.
Really?
And I met a man that was diagnosed similar to me. And he, at this point, had been alive 8 years. And to see that it could be done was a game changer for me. So I made up my mind, I'm going to put my head down and fight. And that was the day that it changed for me, literally, meeting this guy. And so that is the reason. It made such a big deal to me, but such a big impact in my life. That is the reason that I tell my story, and I'm honest about it and candid about it. And there's some ugly truths about it. If you want to go down that road, if you've been through it, you know what I'm talking about. But, we'll talk about it. And that's the reason that I share the stories, because it helped me so much. And I believe, because like I said, I was in 3 separate medical organizations. The first 2 were just going to put me in comfort care. That's how bad I had cancer. What? And the third one, which we all have a mutual friend named Kix Brooks of the group Brooks and Dunn. And that man's a saint, and I love him. And he got me in to see a man at Vanderbilt named Dr. Jordan Berlin, who's a brilliant oncologist. And he thought he saw a way to fight it, and thank God that he did, because that's the only person that gave me a chance of living. And he gave me a shot, and he actually had to fight for my life. I didn't even know this until 5 years after I was through the treatments. He pulled me aside at a function and said, I actually had to fight for your life. So, it's a big deal that I'm still here, and I know that, and I take it for granted daily, unfortunately. I'm ashamed of that, but I'm very, very thankful. And so that's the reason I tell the story. That's true. Every word of it's true.
But you know, it is a common thread. We're all human beings. We all have the same bodies, though they look different or colored. The skin is different.
Yeah.
We all are the same. And how have you seen that people come up and share their journeys? Is it something that happens to you on a daily basis?
It doesn't happen as much as it used to, but it does still happen quite often out on the road. And I always try my best to make time to talk to people because I have been on the other end of it. And another lesson I got to learn in this whole scenario was there was a time I needed to talk to somebody because I was in trouble with cancer and I was scared to death. There was a time when we thought, my doctors and I both thought my cancer had come back. And I needed to talk to somebody close to me, and they dismissed me, you know, and it sincerely hurt my feelings. I couldn't believe it. And they didn't realize how bad a trouble I was in. So I didn't push it, but I learned the lesson. If somebody comes up to you and they think enough of you to ask you to talk to them, you ought to take time and see what they got to say. Because I needed to talk to somebody, and they blew me off. And so that's a lesson I needed to learn. So I wanted to make that point, and I've got to say, I want everybody to know that where my faith is. And I thank God in the name of Jesus, He made it clear that He's the reason I'm still here. He made it clear. And I want everybody to know that.
Amen.
Look, now don't get me wrong, I'm a wretch. I'm a rotten to the core, just like everybody is, but you know. So I gotta put that out there as well.
I don't think you're a wretch at all. I think we're all just human.
We are. We're all dragging around that flesh, unfortunately. So
I said this the other day in one of the interviews. You know, we all carry around our own bag of rocks.
Well, we do.
Some of them are heavier than others. Some of them are lighter, but we still have to drag them around.
That's a fact.
Did you find that? And please forgive me if I stay on this road for a bit, because as a fellow,
you've been there with me. I know you know.
Been there with you.
Yeah.
My husband
Charlie
had colon cancer 6 months after I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2008. It was about Wade's age as well. He had colon cancer, so we had it in the same year. And when I said the statement of make your mess your message, when did it become obvious to you? You know, you were talking about the privacy, and I'm with you. I hear you, the privacy. But when did it become a part of you saying, no, no more. I'm going to share. I'm going to open up. Was there a defining moment for you?
Well, it became clear to me initially when I realized how bad a trouble I was in. And I started reading statistics and hearing from medical professionals that I probably was not going to be around much longer. And then when I realized that there was a glimmer of hope and how much it meant to me when this man shared his story with me, I knew that I was going to, and I had to. I have to. I don't have a choice in the matter. I don't feel like anymore. So.
And we're glad, right? We're glad he's here. We're glad you're sharing.
I've spoken with quite a few of you that have been through the cancer journey here on this boat. I know I have. So.
It's too bad that is a common thread, but it is. But again, it gives us an avenue as people, because I think, Wade, I don't know if you think this, but you know, you talked about your faith, so I'm going there because it's all I have in this world. But I think the Lord put us here for each other, because He sure doesn't need us. You know, we're here for each other, so that there is that common thread to have a compassionate highway, a compassionate conversation with someone.
Yep, I agree completely.
There is a T-shirt that you held up. Where is it at? Old Country Still Rocks.
Yes.
When did that album hit the streets? That's your newest project, right?
Yeah, in November, mid-November,
it
came out, and we've got physical copies there at the website, and anywhere you get digital music, anywhere you download your music, you can get it there.
Now, so. When had you done a project before that? How long had it been?
It'd been 2 or 3 years. I think the last project was Who Saved Who, which was a song about my old dog, Jack. And that was the last one. And I knew it was time. And I've got enough new stuff written for a record, but I wanted to do something different. And this song, I heard some guy say "Old Country Still Rocks," and I thought that's a song title right
Yeah,
there.
it is.
Because it does. I love it. It's still the stuff
know.
from especially the '90s and late '80s is just so good.
Yeah.
And it was a great era to be making music. And so I thought I need to just do an album of covers, stuff that was influential to me as a child coming up, and stuff that really shaped who I am musically. And I could have made 4 of these records.
How did you choose? If you said you could have made 4, what was the criteria for what hit that album?
They all had to have some weird meaning to me, and
Like?
they've all got some sort of odd meaning, and that's how I settled on it. Some of them, like I say, weren't hits. Some of them are obscure. Some of them were big hits. And I mean, we've got songs that go all the way back to the 40s. And we cut Bob Wills' Milk Cow Blues on there. And then we cut a Patty Loveless song. I wanted to do a song from the 90s, but all of my buddies, the guys in the 90s, they all sing so much better than I do. I couldn't do any of their tunes. Well, it's true. And so I thought the only way I can get away with doing a 90s tune is to do my secret crush, Patty Loveless's tune, Here I Am, which Deborah Evans Price suggested that song.
Oh, really?
And yes, that was her idea, and I thought that is brilliant. And that's one of my favorite cuts on the record. Here I Am. I love that song.
She's fantastic.
That's a brilliant song.
I gotta go get this record just to hear that. Are there what was the criteria for the rest of them? You said it had to have a weird draw for you. You want to explain some weird there?
Okay, yeah. So like there's a George Strait song on there that Whitey Shafer wrote, and I'm a huge Whitey Shafer fan. He wrote probably the greatest country, some of the greatest country songs of all time. Like I Never Go Around Mirrors, That's the Way Love Goes, All My Exes Live in Texas. That guy has written some huge hits, and he was a character. I mean, just fun. You'd laugh at him just looking at him. You could tell he was ornery, and he was a great songwriter, and I loved him. So he wrote one of George's tunes, and that's the one I cut on there. And there was a Conway Twitty song on there. It was a big hit for Conway. Originally a Pointer Sisters song, and it's called Slow Hand. And so we do it different. I take a different take on it. It's a lot more country than even Conway did it. It's got steel guitar all over it. And I've done that song with my dad a million times in clubs growing up. I started picking honky tonks when I was 14 years old, every weekend.
And your daddy let you go there.
Yeah. Well, see, you know, some folks might be critical of that, but you got to consider this. My dad always knew where I was, always.
Yep.
And he knew I wasn't out drinking and running around. I was right next to him playing guitar and learning how to do my craft. So that's a song that we did together a million times, and I thought it would make a perfect piece for this record.
So Old Country Still Rocks is the name of the album. If it's down there, pick it up. And if it isn't, go to his website and get it. Because now I'm fully intrigued.
It's got some fun stuff for sure.
They called you out in the meeting a couple of days ago. Well, you all weren't here with us, but Mike Jason, who is the head of Star Vista, and Mike Robertson, his executive producer, talked about Wade being on this cruise so many years. I mean, why do you keep coming back? What is the draw for you to come be a part of this for as many years as you've done it?
There are, well, probably more than one reason. I do enjoy getting to hang out with you guys. I do. Everybody is always very nice, very polite. You'd think it could get out of hand, but no, seriously. But you guys are very respectful, and you're nice, and I appreciate y'all, and I like hanging out with you. And also, it's cold as hell in Tennessee, and I'm ready to get out of there. We were knocking icicles off the cows when I left, and I was ready.
No joke.
That's no joke. And I was ready to get out of there. And plus, you know, we always get to see. I've seen all of these tiny islands around here, and it's always a blast to walk around and get in the sand for a minute. And at the end of January and February, so I always enjoy it. I'm always very honored and tickled I get invited back.
Do you like the cruise aspect? Like when I came in 3 years ago, when Lorianne Crook, who is just the best of all, you know, to help that situation. And I had never cruised in my whole life. I've gotten to be around the world, go around the world for the military. I'd never been on a cruise ship. Are you drawn to this? Do you like the cruising aspect?
I like it all. I like being warm. I love seeing palm trees. There's something about that I really, really like. Now, I wouldn't want to live near palm trees, or like for full time. I like the aspect of green grass and cows and I love that part. But I love to get away and see that aspect of it. And I also get to ride around on a ship with people that I call friends in the music industry. Tracy Lawrence was the first tour I was ever on.
Was it?
Very first tour.
What year was that?
It was 94, 95.
And you opened for his tour, I suspect.
Yep. He was very good to me. He was kind of my first friend in the music industry. I got to meet and hang out with a bunch of heroes, but Tracy was the first to have me out to his house and go fishing, and I always thought a lot of him. He always treated me like $1 million.
He did a great job. Did you see his show by chance, or you might have been working last night?
No, I was working. I didn't get to see it. Yeah.
Anybody see Tracy's show last night?
He's had a bunch of hits, hasn't he?
18 number ones.
Yeah, he's had a bunch of them. He's a good guy, too.
He is a good guy. I said this last night, Wade. He makes good choices.
Tracy's a smart guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's very intelligent.
But you make good choices, too. The songs that you've recorded, please forgive me for not knowing how many that you've written or how many other writers have written. But what is your I don't want to say parameter, but what is your boundary or your common thread for what song you choose to cut?
Well, I'm pretty picky about songs, and I tend to be a little snooty about stuff, and which I like to write songs, and I've gotten much better at that than when I was young. When I was having hits, I was not a very good songwriter. I got very lucky a couple of times. We had a couple of number ones right off the bat that I co-wrote with Chick Raines, who was my mentor. And that's another song, speaking of Chick Raines, one of the selections on the new album is a tune called One in a Million, which our old buddy Johnny Lee had a number one song on. So Chick Raines wrote that song by himself, and Johnny Lee had the number one on it. So my two mentors on one song, I had to put that song on this record. So anyway, and so getting back to the songwriting, it has to touch a nerve. There are a couple of songs, out of all the songs that have been pitched to me over the years, I've only missed a couple of them. And one of them was not my fault.
You want to tell us what that is?
Well, I'd had a brief record deal on a record label called Universal South. And there was a tune that Dean Dillon had written, which I loved. And I was going to record that song, and I'd already talked to Dean about it. It's a tune that George had a hit on called She Let Herself Go. You guys remember that song? I loved that song. And I had talked to Dean. I heard him do it, and I said, man, can I cut that? He said, yeah, you have my blessing. Take it. So I took it to the record label and was going to record it, and they let me go like a couple of days after that. So, yeah, it was just one of those things. It was a timing thing, and it was, music industry's tough.
Yeah,
it can be tough. So it's just a timing thing.
Did you pass on another one that maybe went on to be a big hit?
Yeah, there was another one, and it was a Tracy Lawrence had a hit on it. Cool. And it just didn't touch me at the time when I heard the demo. But when I heard Tracy sing it, I thought, crap.
Which one was it?
Paint Me a Birmingham. Yep. I probably should have told you all that now.
Yeah, we all just went, whoa, what?
Yeah. I didn't hear it at the time, but when I heard his record, I sure did. Yeah.
But that is how it goes. And when you said you asked permission, you asked the artist or you asked the writer, that's kind of the protocol in Nashville. You just don't go slapping it on there. You need to have communication, right?
Back in those days, writers would bring, there was an A&R department, and the writers would bring songs, and they were out listening for artists all the time. And the first record label I was on, Sony, we were just on different pages. I was really into hardcore country, rockin' country, hardcore stuff. I didn't like soft poppy stuff at the time, and we were just on different pages. And so it's different strokes for different folks, and I certainly understand that. I don't fault anybody for it at all. That's the reason they make chocolate and vanilla ice cream, because not everybody likes the same thing, you know. So,
Right,
but we just, you know, when people get on the same page is when they make some headway.
When you were there with Tracy, you know, opening up that show for him, you hear a lot of young acts, which you were at the time and still are, in my humble opinion. That was there something that you saw that you ripped off from Tracy? You know how young artists watch other big, you know, guys on the side of the stage.
Hey, there was stuff I tried to rip off from him. 'Cause let me tell you what, that joker was. You'll never see anybody more confident on stage than that guy was, and he knew what he was doing, and he was dead on pitch every night. Good singer, and very confident, and had the songs to back it up. He had a great show back then.
So, what did you take to your show?
I attempted to take it his confidence, but I was always so worried about hitting the notes. I was always too worried to enjoy myself, and Tracy was enjoying himself. I was too worried to enjoy myself. I was too focused on singing on pitch and not missing a note, not missing a guitar lick, and it was difficult for me. So.
Well, you obviously overcame it.
Well, I fight it every night still yet to this day. Sometimes I enjoy it more than others. Like the first night in on this trip, I was very, very apprehensive because we were doing a couple of new tunes, and I was having trouble with my guitar rig. Some of you folks might have saw, but I've been fighting gremlins on that thing this whole trip, and it keeps moving. I don't know what's going on. So, and this Opry show that I have coming up, I'm hoping will be the first show that something bad doesn't happen with my guitar stuff.
It's not.
We'll see.
Happen.
It's yet to be seen. So.
But that's.
There you are, Deborah. I see. Yeah.
Oh,
all right.
Sweet Deborah. Hi, Deborah. How are you, lady? You know, we don't often think about that. I don't often think about that. But you as an artist, and the artist that we all talk to, I mean, yeah, things happen, and you have to overcome them.
Yeah.
And especially when it's your instrumentation, do you just tell the audience, hey, I've got a cold. Hey, my string just broke.
Yeah.
Hey, my amp isn't working. Do you just let them in on it?
Sometimes you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I do a lot of my own electric guitar work, and it's me playing on my records these days, and it's me playing on stage, and if you know, that's a big role you have. And my records are very heavily guitar driven, so
Obviously.
Yeah, so when that goes down on me, you're kind of dead in the water. So anyway,
because we have guitar techs, you know, you see all these touring acts that come on, and that you know, that one man or woman is running around like a chicken getting a new guitar.
Yeah.
So you are your own guitar tech.
That's right. I have not made it to that upper crust where the
yes,
guys
you have. Yes,
they all
have.
They have dudes washing their socks for them. You know.
Well, I washed out my jeans in the tub last night.
Yeah. I hear you. We're on the same page.
That's right. So what are you going to sing at the Opry show tonight? What song must you always do, or you will face some backlash?
Old Enough to Know Better was
right.
the biggest hit, and thank y'all very much. That song was a very, very big blessing to me, and it was true to life stuff. And you know, I grew up in a construction background. My dad was a contractor, and I tell this story every night when I'm doing the right before I do Old Enough. That it's all true. When I first moved to Nashville, I'd gotten a job. Of course, I grew up building houses, so I got a job building houses in Nashville. And like a week or two later, I got a job playing lead guitar for Johnny Lee. And we have been friends that long, 30 years. And so Johnny, he would get wound up and want to play all night long. And when I say all night long, it was a regular playing till after 3 o'clock in the morning. And then he'd want to go to the IHOP. So I didn't get much sleep those days. He didn't care that I had to be at job at 7 o'clock in the morning swinging a hammer. But, you know, and like I tell the folks, that was one of the most difficult times of my life, but it was one of the best times in my life. Every day was so amazing, and just learning and seeing so much. I was a hay seed from a small town in Oklahoma. I'd never done or seen anything. And I moved to Nashville, and all of a sudden, everything is exploding around me. I've got record label people coming to see me play guitar for Johnny Lee, and I'm getting to hang out. The first time I ever played the Grand Ole Opry was with Johnny. First time I ever rode a tour bus was with Johnny. And it was just an amazing time. And so, but anyway, you know, that Going Without Sleep, it was How Old Enough to Know Better kind of got written. So we can blame it on Johnny.
Well, yeah, blame it on John. Well, did you have a co-write on that song?
Chick Raines.
Chick Raines wrote it.
Yeah, my mentor. He's the fellow that kind of really taught me how to write songs.
What was that writing session like with that coming at the end? You know, how lay out that session like we were just birds in a room listening.
Well, Chick had the title, and I thought that, you know, this is real life. He told me the title, and immediately I thought, this is me. This is me. And when you're young like that, and especially when you haven't been exposed to much, you really want to see and do everything. And sleep is secondary.
Yeah, yeah.
You really want to experience life, and you hate to go to bed. So that song, that title really resonated with me. And back then, if I wasn't playing in a honky-tonk, I was out two-stepping. And I just loved every bit of it. So
you're a dancer.
Oh, well, no.
I think we just opened up a new real road for you.
But that was a wonderful, wonderful time in my life. And that, like I said, the title really resonated, and the song basically wrote itself.
So, Wade, I have to ask you now that you've talked about dancing, because when I moved to Nashville all those many years ago, did you go to the Wrangler?
There was a place over there. It was called Silverados.
Silverados out at Rivergate Mall, and then the Wrangler was right there on Murfreesboro Road, across from the Cooker. Did you go there to dance?
That's the one that I'm thinking of then, on Murfreesboro Road.
Were you there?
Oh yeah.
I was there.
Oh yeah.
I could have danced with you.
We possibly could
have. We probably did.
Yeah. I was too shy to ask girls to dance, though, so I was the guy sitting back watching everybody else.
My brother lived in Nashville for a little while, and I'm really teasing at you guys because I was probably there with my brother. He's my younger brother, and we would get hired out to go country line dance, and that's how I met Charlie, Wade. We were dancing for Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. My brother and I were, so I met my husband, who was friends with Wade.
He's a very talented musician as well.
Thank you very much. I am going to open up the floor because I bet some people have some questions and would love to chat. I think we have a little bit of time, so anybody want to talk with Wade about something in particular? Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Well, I was playing at, there was a club called Gillies in Nashville at the time. It's no longer there. But, and I went in one night and sat in, played guitar, and then the next thing I know, the owner comes up and asks me if I wanted a job. So I got hired to play guitar in the house band, and then the next week or so, Johnny Lee comes down there, and Mickey Gillies coming down, and so Johnny hired me to be in his house band there. So that's how I met him. Yeah.
What did you learn from Johnny Lee?
Johnny Lee is a master. I could sit here for hours and tell you Johnny Lee stories.
We got time.
There is nothing that Johnny Lee can do wrong. Now, you guys know that he's hilarious. And he's a rascal, and he's rotten to the core. But he's got the biggest tender heart of anybody I know, and I love that man. I do. He's been a good friend to me. And I will tell you this, just to tell you what kind of guy he is. When I first had record label people coming to watch me play at Gillies, and the owner of this club found out about it, and he tried to force me to sign a management contract with him.
What?
Yes, this is all true. This is Nashville, the shady side. I'm going to give you some scoop. So he found out that there were a couple of big producers coming, a couple of record labels, and so he tried to make me sign a management contract with him.
Now, this was the guy at the club?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
And I was afraid. I knew that it was a mistake, and I was scared to. So I said, "I can't, sir. I'm sorry. I can't do it." And he fired me.
Wow.
That moment, and I took all my stuff out and set it. It was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had all my stuff sitting outside, getting ready to put it in the back of my pickup truck. And Johnny Lee comes up, and he says, "What are you doing, boy?" And just like that. And I said, "Well, I just got fired." And I explained the situation to him. And he went in and threatened to whip that guy's ass. That's a true story. And then he comes back out and he says, "Go put your stuff back in there and go home." And that was that.
Wow.
So that's the kind of guy Johnny is.
Wow.
That's a true story.
That's a great, I'd never heard that before.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
It is.
And that man saw your potential, saw that you were bringing in big guns, and he was going to just rope you, he thought.
Yeah, I guess so.
Not after Johnny Lee took care of him.
Yeah.
Who else? Anybody else want to chat? Because I love this. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have, and I am more of a hardcore country. You know, I know that place is for some very, very talented, educated, cognitive singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
You know, people that are deep and really, really talented, gifted songwriters, and they'll get on to you if you talk a little too loud or whatever. They'll shush you.
We're talking about the Bluebird Cafe.
Yeah.
If you didn't hear his question over here.
Yeah, and I understand that, but you know, I always felt a little uncomfortable there. I've played there a couple of times, but I mean, it's you know, it's a landmark in Tennessee, and it is a big deal. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a line. It's a big deal, especially that TV show made it a big deal
with
too.
Nashville.
Yeah.
And that place is half the size, if
Yeah.
not even less than half the size
Yeah.
of this room.
It's
and I'm
tiny.
just talking about this outer perimeter right here, not even out there.
Yeah.
It's teeny.
Yeah, and they've had the biggest stars play there. Mm-hmm. The biggest.
A lot of Who's your favorite songwriter? I know you mentioned you like Dean Dillon's work. He was flawless.
Gina, Whitey Schaefer. Well, to tell you the truth, and I don't want to just be like everybody else, but really, if you digest this person's work and really take it apart and look at it and look at the magnitude of it and the intelligence of it, and you mix everything together, their musicianship and how well that they can sing. In my personal opinion, you'll never meet anybody. There never will be again somebody that is as talented as Merle Haggard was.
Oh.
You can't imagine what that guy, the big old brain he must have had to write these so many songs that were brilliant, and then to sing them as well as he did. He was a crooner. You know, he's like a Bing Crosby type crooner, but singing country music. And he could play well. He knew his instrument. And he was a not half bad fiddle player. I've done a few shows with him where I saw him play the whole show on the fiddle. And he did a great job. And I mean, I just couldn't understand how you could have that much talent.
Did you get to know him well?
I did not get to know him. I met him several times. I've got a few guitars autographed by him. And I really, really was in awe of his talent.
I shared this with an audience earlier today at the Willie Nelson tribute.
Yeah.
That when I got to interview Willie Nelson for the first time in my career, and he was probably one of the holdouts that I had not interviewed, but I went on his bus to do the interview with a camera crew. Yeah, you said that.
Yeah,
you said something.
Did he hand you a...
No, he did not hand me the thing. No. But I blew the interview because I was starstruck.
Yeah.
And that has never happened in my time of interviewing lots of people, but I blew it.
Yeah.
And is there somebody that you feel kind of that way about, that if you got to hang with them or?
Yeah, there was my big guys when I was coming up that I was most interested in were, of course, Merle and Willie, Waylon Jennings. Oh, yeah. I loved Gene Watson, Gary Stewart. Those were all big influences. So I had met Waylon, and I'd kind of gotten to know him, and he was as sweet to me as I just loved him. And I know he was ornery, but he was wonderful to me, wonderful man. And I got to play on a record for him. He asked me to come play guitar on a record for him.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
And yeah, and you talk about blowing it, I blew it.
No.
I couldn't have picked my nose that day, much less the guitar. I'm not kidding y'all. It was awful, and
Well,
I still lose sleep over that.
Do you really?
Yes.
Well, what happened? I mean, what
I
was
couldn't.
he watching you? Was he watching?
Yes, he was watching me. He told me my mama almost named me Wade. Why don't you go in there and play some of that, get that Telecaster guitar on this record? And I couldn't get it done, y'all. And I'm ashamed to this day. I locked up. I couldn't do it.
Don't be ashamed. My
That's
goodness.
a true story.
But I mean, when Waylon Jennings put you on the spot like that,
I mean, he did, yeah.
A lot of people would have croaked. Don't worry about it.
Well,
let it go. Just let it go.
That was my big shot. But he was very, very kind to me, and I loved him. He was very, very nice to me.
Anybody else have some more questions? Hey, bud.
I've done several shows with Gene Watson. Yes, sir. Last year we did a couple shows together. Now, Gene's another just wonderful, wonderful man. I love him. I go up on the bus and visit with him. He knows my name always. He always says, "Hey, Wade, come up and say hello," and just wants to visit. And he's a good man. Love him. You and me both, my friend.
True.
I love him.
Yes, sir.
You have a favorite memory playing at the Opry?
Now, I probably better not answer that because I'm gonna play the Opry at sea in just a minute, and she told me they're gonna ask me that, so I'm gonna save that. All right. That's very funny that you'd ask me that.
Well, I'm glad that you reminded me because I will be the one asking you that, and I had forgotten that I was supposed to ask you that. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Wade. They did tell me that. They were like, "Now, when the artist finished, they come over and ask them about playing on the Opry." So, you just saved me. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know exactly. I know there were probably several owners involved in that. That's usually typically how those things. There's a namesake for sure that a branding that they use, but there's typically more than one owner. Oh yeah, Mickey would come in. They were all the time bringing in. I met Robert Duvall one night. He came in just to hang out with Johnny and Mickey, and he was very neat to hang around there. It was an interesting time. Yeah, he was great. Everybody was nice to me. Everybody. Oh yeah, wonderful.
And it was this one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh no. Oh gosh, yeah. Oh no. Well,
We're
we're
glad
you're
you
here.
did. Yeah. Hey, do you still do you have to practice every day? Do you keep active with your guitar every day?
I do practice quite a bit. It's typically if I've gotten into putting the guitars together, and even I'm doing that or I'm trying to write a song, it's typically when I'm practicing or trying to learn a solo for a song I've written or something like that.
Yeah. Wade, we're going to have to let you go here in a few minutes. Does anybody else have a question before we say goodbye? Please, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. I was very shy. What now? No? Not that I remember. Okay. You'll have to show. There were a bunch of folks that. Oh, okay. Yeah, there were a bunch of folks that with the record label and management team and stuff that were back there all the time. So.
Last one. Yes, sir. You build your own guitars.
Yeah. I'm the one I'm playing tonight that's giving me so much trouble. I built it, and I build them for friends and stuff.
Good question. What type of wood do you like the best?
If it's an electric guitar, I like a very light piece of swamp ash. Yep.
Swamp ash. Say
Swamp
that
ash,
3
times. Do what now? Yeah. No, we're not swamp ass. We know. It's swamp ash.
Ash. Swamp ash.
Well, I've never heard of that.
I haven't heard of that either.
Interesting.
So you'll have to pick up.
I'll have to check into that.
Set
Thank
the
you for
swamp
the
ash aside and go pick up a sycamore. Careful, thank you. We're going to have to let him go, but I hope that you all will come tonight to the Opry at Sea. Wade is going to be there. Sister Sadie's going to be there. Lots of other artists are going to be there. And one quick thing before we have to let you go. How are you different as a human, as a person that's gone on a journey that a lot of people have not gone on? How are you different from Wade when you were younger, back in the 90s? What's changed about you? Or has anything changed about you?
Yes, a lot has changed. And there's a lot that's still the same. And I'm ashamed to say that there's still that old man that's still dragging around that flesh that I deal with on a daily basis, we all do. Mm-hmm. But I have really, really tried to understand this life a little bit more and tried to understand why I'm still here. And, I struggle, folks, just like you do, and more so than I don't even want to get into, but struggle with finding purpose and the reason why we're here. But it is imperative, I have found, that you find a purpose and find a reason to be here. And I get more satisfaction out of doing something for somebody or helping somebody in some way than I do in getting something these days. And the older I get, it's more important to me to try to store up those jewels for after. But don't get me wrong. I don't want you to go away thinking that I'm this perfect guy, because I'm as far from it as you can get.
And so are we.
And that's a fact,
right?
But I'm sure trying.
And
I'm sure trying to be a good guy.
Yeah, and you make it. You hit that mark, and my friend. Thank you very much, Wade.
It's been my pleasure.
For your
it always
honesty.
is.
I think you don't have to try any harder, because I think we're lifting you up. You're lifting us up.
You are.
By
You guys
entertaining
are.
us.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Wade Hayes, everybody.